I am the guy who won his first Tony at age 73. But check it out. I'm a stargazer. I gaze at the stars because the stars gaze at me. I'm a hardworking black man. All audiences enjoy hard-working black men. Drop on your knee, sweat a little, smile. But the legacy that I'm creating, the legacy that I want to leave indelibly, the legacy that I want people to embrace is black man majesty. There isn't enough of it in the world. It got smothered during enslavement. It's time for it to come back, to be reinvented. It's time for the black man to act on his God-given worthiness. It's not a simple task, but I'm up to it. I was not surprised that it took 7 decades for me to arrive at this particular zenith in my career. What people don't understand is this doesn't mean I have arrived. This simply means there are many more golden steps for me to take on my journey. I've only begun to play, to dance, to speak, to sing. When I was a young boy, I made a vow to myself that if I was going to have any personal success in life, the first thing I had to do was make education my beacon. And having made that decision, my initial effort, which is paying off in my speaking to you right now, was to master the language of those who would oppress me. Why? So that I could always understand what was being said to me and about me, and I could always make myself understood. I never had the opportunity, I never had the delicious privilege of deciding for myself that I was going to be a performing activist. I knew when I was evicted from my mother's womb that that was going to be my journey. Now, how did I know that? When I was old enough to have an adult conversation with my parents, my mother volunteered to me that her life's dream was to be a chorus girl. She didn't say dancer, she said chorus girl. She was born around the turn of the 20th century. My maternal grandparents, who were born previous to the 20th century, said to my mother, "No decent colored child of ours is going to shuffle her way through life. We barely shuffled our way off the plantation." Now, the story is similar with my father, who wanted to be a singer, had a beautiful tenor voice. My paternal grandparents said to him, "What kind of responsible career is that if you're going to have a wife and children?" The point I'm simply making is, both my parents deferred their dreams. I come from a family of 11 children. Somewhere in that line of 11 children, those deferred dreams had to morph into the X and Y chromosome that becomes the zygote, that becomes the child in the womb, and then becomes the issue. I'm lucky number 9. I am the manifestation of my parents' deferred dreams. I speak to my parents often. I don't presume that they're in heaven. I don't presume that they're in hell. But I do know that they are still very much a sentient part of me. They still advise me. They still guide me. We're still in the process of forgiving one another for all of the trespasses that we commit, even amongst the people that we love. I write about them. I write to them. And I say, as I just shared with you, I know you are enjoying vicariously the careers that you dreamed of, because I taste you when I perform. I see you in my dreams, and occasionally I see you on the street someplace. My mother lived long enough to see me do several of my outstanding performances. My father did not, so I speak to him more often. Hadestown is a story about love and doubt. The two cannot exist at the same time. If you love, you trust. If you doubt, you cannot love. To illustrate that conundrum, we contrast and compare two couples, a young couple, Orpheus and Eurydice, and a mature couple, the god Hades and the goddess Persephone, so that you get this understanding of the difference between human frail love and the godly love that is intended to be eternal, everlasting. And what we discover is neither is true. Our mantra in Hadestown is, we will sing this song again and again and again. This role is unique because it is nurtured, it is sourced in Greek mythology. Now, maybe you're thinking, oh yeah, that's unique. It's more than unique, though. Greek mythology is a pagan discipline. And that is very important to how much unbridled joy the audience receives from attending a performance of Hadestown. Because when you come into that dark cathedral with a group of strangers, as we do in temples or churches, we come for the purpose of communion. Audiences will not articulate it this way, but those of us who tell stories understand that the audience wants a question answered. The audience wants a problem solved, a crisis resolved, a burden lifted, a yoke broken. That's why the Greeks built those huge amphitheaters that could accommodate an entire nation state, 20,000 people, 40,000 people, because they believed that the gods, the Olympian gods, would come down from the top of Mount Olympus and walk among them and serve their needs, answer their questions, etc. Well, we've been to the top of Mount Olympus. There are no gods there. We've even been to the moon. There are no gods there. The only gods, small g, we have now are performing artists, people whose purpose it is to take on the burden of the audience and chop it up and come back with some answers. And the contract we make with you is follow us on this journey. We will challenge you. We may change you. But the first law of healing, just as the Hippocratic Oath reminds us, is primum non nocere. First, do no harm. I invite you to talk to anyone who has attended a performance of Hadestown. No one will claim that any harm was done to them. And remember, we're in New York, where everyone is in a hurry. You stop someone on the street and say, why are you in a hurry? And yet the answer is, I don't know. Where are you going? I don't know, but I have to get there in a hurry. So to arrest an audience's attention, I chillax. I take my time. I move slowly, but purposefully. I always have a destination in mind, so it's not meandering. I'm not lost. I'm not wandering. I'm simply focused. I've got my eye on the prize. And the prize in Hadestown is to have the audience cheer, scream, because they have, for 2.5 hours, experienced a catharsis which they have never before experienced. Catharsis meaning the unraveling of some emotional knot. And you know we all are emotional knots walking on 2 feet. This is a line from Hadestown. So, here's the thing. To know how it ends and still begin to sing it again, as if it might turn out this time. I learned that from a friend of mine. To translate that into contemporary thought, consider this. It doesn't really matter what decision you make. What matters is how you deal with the consequences of whatever decision it is that you do make. There are certain things that you must know, and certain things you should not know. A lesson I learned from Dr. John Carroll, who was my professor of Shakespeare at New York University. He said, here's a word you will never find in any dictionary, but it's something that will help you on your journey through life. We know everything that we need to know. We simply don't know that we know it.